Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon. Okay, so let's talk about the goings on first before we embark on the lecture. First of all, a lot has happened this week, last week, I guess, in different parts of the world. But one of the biggest developments, which I thought was a big development, was that in Afghanistan, okay, this is very important, you listen carefully now. Afghanistan's people identify with the tribes of Benjamin, okay? They believe and they say that they came from King Saul. You remember King Saul, who was from the time of King David? Before King David became king, he was king. He was from the house of Benjamin. So Afghanistan as a whole, as a people, identify with King Saul first. Of course, they became Muslim down the road, and that doesn't really matter because, to them, what they believe is Islam is monotheist, one God, and they are happy to be in that state. Of course, when God restores them back and brings them back to the inheritance, I think all of these things will get sorted out, exactly minute, minutiae details of what's what. But right now, what happened in Afghanistan is they found a mountain of gold, solid gold. Within their mountains, there is a mountain that has a lot of gold. China struck a deal with them, and China said, we will take 44% for ourselves, and we will give you 56% of the gold that is mined. Now, what that means, that is in a decade's time, in 10 years' time, Afghanistan could become even more modernized than Dubai. Countries like Dubai, Emirates, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, etc. So, because when they get this wealth pouring in, they can transform their country. Now, whether they transform it or not is another matter, but they are very good fighters, okay? Remember that. In our history, the tribe of Benjamin were always good fighters. Now, I know a lot of you think it was Judah, but no, Judah spoken more about. But Benjamin fighters were well-known fighters, great fighters. In terms of leaders, the house of Levi were the leaders, and they were the warriors. That led the war. So they were like commanders. But in terms of fighters, more than even Judah, Benjamin were much more ferocious fighters than the rest of the tribes. So this is why I believe that this discovery in Afghanistan is a major key that to the future. And of course, in the future restoration, what happens, we shall see. Now, of course, Iran, who is next door neighbor, they, for the first time in their history, fired a missile at Israel and struck their target. Now, here is the interesting part. They did not use a modern missile. They used a 15-year-old technology that they had developed, and they wanted to test it out, and they tested it, and they proved it. And of course, neither countries that the missile crossed were able to stop that. So that's an interesting scenario that we are in right now. I want to point out from the prophecy of the prophet Obadiah, known as Obadiah in the English Bibles. In chapter 1, verse 17, but it says, but upon Mount Zion shall be rescue, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Yaakov shall possess their possessions. And the house of Yaakov shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh has spoken it. Now, this is a future prophecy. It goes on to say, and they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Plishtim, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Shamiron, which is Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. Okay, so this prophecy, I want you to mark out, write it somewhere, mark it maybe in your Bibles, or put a note in there. And there is a lot here, and there's a lot here that I have not said, and there's a lot here that needs to be said. But again, I'm not going to illustrate who the house of Joseph is at this time in history, and I know already who they are. Okay, I know who they are, and I know where they're going to come from. But I'm not going to illustrate it because now is not the time to speak about these things. But the development in the nations is bringing us, the 12 tribes, slowly together. We're forming slowly together, and we're going to come together one day, and suddenly we'll come together. Now, contrary to popular belief, my personal belief, okay, this is my personal belief, Israel as a nation will be struck with a nuclear strike. Okay, now, when I say nuclear strike, I don't mean a bomb like Hiroshima. I mean maybe a missile that has nuclear warhead will strike Israel in the future, near future. Who strikes it? Time will tell. But I've just given you a brief into future history. That's going to happen. Now, where exactly is going to happen? I think again, it's minutia. You don't need to know exactly where right now. All you need to know, it will happen. And that will lead to a restoration of the full house of Israel when that happens. But I wanted to, let me see, in Psalm 118, or Psalm 119 rather, I wanted to speak, let me find the verse, and maybe I could read it for you. And I wanted to tell you something from here. Yeah. Let's see. I believe it's, let's see. Yeah, this is, we're going to be reading a little bit from Zayin, okay, which is verse 49 of Psalm 119. And it says as follows: remember the word to your servant, upon which you have caused me to trust. This is my comfort in my affliction, for your word has revived me. The proud have had me greatly in derision, yet have I not declined from your Torah. Now, let me read those words again. The proud have had me greatly in derision, yet have I not declined from your Torah. I remembered your judgments of old, O Yod-Heh-Vah, and have comforted myself. Horror has taken hold upon me because of the wicked that forsake your Torah. Your statutes have been my songs in the house of my pilgrimage. I have remembered your name, O Yod-Heh-Vah, in the night, and have kept your Torah. This I had kept because I kept your precepts. Now, I don't know for some reason why, and it actually came out in the print as well. This was left very small print, and is apparently went in Times New Roman when it should have been Arial, instead of the Times New Roman. But that's okay. Just a minor. But I noticed that in my printed Bible today, that this was in small letters. That this says, "This I had because I kept your precepts," and I thought, Baruch Hashem, what a great testimony! What a great testimony! This I had because I kept your precepts. It may be that your friends, your family, they discourage you, they talk back at you, maybe they make derision of you, maybe they make fun of you because you keep Torah. Okay? King David writes, and King David says here, that the proud have led me greatly in derision, yet have I not declined from your Torah. And he then goes on to say that he goes on to say something very interesting. I have remembered your name, or Yod Hevahe, in the night, and have kept your Torah. What does that mean, I have remembered your name in the night? It means that in the character of God, we're not talking about pronouncing the name. This has nothing to do with pronunciation. It's the character of God's name, what it actually means. It says, I have remembered it and I've kept your Torah. Of course, he kept the Torah in the daytime as well. So why he mentioned the night? Because he meditated in the night. And I'll give you something today that you can meditate on that will greatly change your life. But we'll come to that. So talking about the nations, Afghanistan was the first one. Second one, I see certain leaders in the UK, I won't name them, they speak with forked tongue regarding the war in Israel. Then I see certain leaders in America, again they shall remain unnamed, they also speak with forked tongue. In fact, one person said so far as to strike Gaza with a nuclear strike. Yeah, this was said by a senator in America a few days ago, that he said that strike Gaza with a nuclear strike. This is how far these people are gone. They're gone absolutely nuts. You know, they're forgotten that Gaza doesn't just have Palestinian fighters, it also has women, children, innocent men who really have maybe no part in the war. Maybe they want a land. Sure, they want a land. Who doesn't want a land in their own country? I know many people in America who would rather separate and have their own country. You know, there are many people in this country that want to have their own kingdom. Even if they were given one state, they want to have their own state and call it by their own name and have their own laws and statutes and judgments. I know, yeah, there are people like that in America. So why would you want to strike 2 million people with a nuclear strike to annihilate them? You know, it's beyond me that some of these people, you know, how pathetic and madness they have in them in these so-called, you know, political circles. But other than that, you know, business as usual. Mr. Biden, the president, first he withheld the weapons from Israel, saying that they may have violated international law, and now he's allowed them. So the cabal, the deep state, continues to do its thing, continues to work its magic, and continue to shovel, you know, weapons and other things, and of course the fake media with the fake reports and the fake stories, you know, all of these are being channeled, and to keep people in what I can only describe as how shall we describe it? Keep people in a darkness so that they don't know what the heck is going on. This is how, you know, this is how, if I say Satan, people may laugh. Satan is basically, could be seen in many different ways, but by Satan meaning to keep you in doubt, to keep you in a state of unknown. This is what's going on. Now, you know, you may have heard that there was an Atlantis city one time, and there were other kingdoms that they tell you that Atlantis is in the sea now. I personally do not believe that Atlantis is in the sea. Okay? Let me tell you where Atlantis is likely to be. There is a place in this world called Antarctica. Antarctica has a huge ice wall that America tried to tunnel through and couldn't. My personal belief, okay, this is my personal belief. I'm not saying this is fact, and I'm giving you this as an opinion, my opinion. My opinion is this: there are many kingdoms beyond that wall in Antarctica that we have not, we meaning we the people. I'm not talking about governments. Governments know about this. Governments have secretively signed a document that they will not tell these to the people. So, and this document was signed many years ago. But there are kingdoms on this planet Earth that we have no access to. We meaning the people. We have no access to them because they have been kept from us. And there you will find your dinosaurs, there you will find your Atlantis, there you will find other things as well. Okay? So those kingdoms have not yet been discovered by us. Yes, they know about is with certain governments of the world, including America. These people know about them, but they keep them secret, top secret. Only reason we get some information coming out now is because of social media. Other than people have gone there and made some discoveries, and so we get some information coming out that there are such places, possibly such places. There is even, astonishing it may be to some of you who live in America, and I bet most of you don't know this, there were pyramids found in is it Arizona or where we have these mountains? They have found pyramids there with Egyptian writing, and the Smithsonian Museum to this day has not acknowledged it. Okay, they have not acknowledged that is true, but actually it is true. There are pyramids down there dug into the mountains, and there are rooms and there are Egyptian writings. So the question is, what is Egyptian writings doing in America? Okay, number one question. Number two question, the stele that they found with the 10 Commandments in the Royal Hebrew, what is that doing in America? That's from the 10th century BCE, from King Solomon's time. So all these questions remain unanswered. Okay, this is all present in the US. So moving on in the nations, Iran basically made a statement last week, and Iran said, of course, they are speaking to US, and they are saying to the US, listen, either you take the weapons away from Israel, the so-called nuclear weapons, or we will destroy them. Okay, that's the statement that Iran made. Iran said, if you don't, we will destroy them. The Iranian ambassador met with the Saudi Arabian ambassador and offered him nuclear know-how. They said, we will build your nuclear facility, we will give you the nuclear know-how so you can make your own nuclear weapons, because we already have the knowledge and we already have the stuff, we already have it, but we will give you the knowledge and we will help you to do it if you are willing. So, by the way, this meeting took place and already acknowledged, and I don't know how many press outlets reported it, but that's basically status quo with Iran and Saudi Arabia. Other than that, what was the other news? Oh yeah, the other news. I already know since last year who's going to be the next president of the US. This is nothing new for me, okay? But this news came on the Eastern media wing, and they said that Mr. Trump has been signed in by the deep state. The deep state, of course, that includes parliament members of Israel and some other people who from the political circles, probably UK, I'd say, probably the US. And they said that certain agreements were made that Mr. Trump will be made the president of the US, and in turn Mr. Trump will then do what Israel tells it to do. In other words, they want a war with Iran, they want maybe more sanctions and other things going on. That's basically the recent development. Now, you probably, those of you in America, you probably would have heard that Mr. Trump is actually against the deep state. He wants to do away with the cabal and the deep state, and they're really afraid and fearful of him. Now, how much credibility you put into this news item, I think time will tell. But I just wanted you to be aware that this is something that came on the airs from the Eastern media. Okay, so that's where we are in the world today. Other than that, is there anything significant going on in the media? Yes and no. There is, and maybe I'll update you more as they develop. There's developing stories right now, but they haven't quite developed to start to talk about them. But know this, that the prophecy I gave you of the book of Obadiah or Obeda is yet future, and it's beginning to form in our time to happen in the future. Now, I don't know. I can't tell you that if it's going to be in a decade, if it's going to be in 20 years, 30 years, but it's going to happen. Okay? It's going to happen. So, there was another development. Saudi Arabia offered to buy a portion of, there is a portion of Red Sea area that belongs to Egypt, and Saudi Arabia has proposed to buy that land from Egypt to develop some kind of tourist destination, and it's right at the Red Sea. And I think that maybe they're talking about amount of $25 to $35 billion payment in order to acquire that land. And it's quite likely, in my opinion, it's quite likely that Egypt will give it to Saudi Arabia. Why? Because Egypt has lost about $5 billion of revenue from shipping every month since this war started in Israel with the Palestinians and the forces in Yemen, etc. And the forces in Yemen have made a nightmare of these ships trying to cross, and they won't let them cross through. They block all the shipping routes, and so that has caused a disruption, and it caused Egypt to lose out on a lot of money that would have been funneled to Egypt when the ships cross. Now, by the way, I want to make this polite suggestion that UK used to claim that they rule the seas. The UK, you no longer rule the seas. Your ruling of the seas is over, because Yemen, some fighters from Yemen put a stop to that and showed you that you are nobody. Showed America that you are nobody. So that's kind of interesting that I say that, because the US even, and the UK even more so, they used to say that the US is a dog of the UK, and now they probably say the UK is a dog of the US. So whichever you want to take it, the UK no longer rules the seas. Okay, because time has changed. It's not 1857, and it's definitely not when these people went to India and lied about their company that they're going to form to do business, and they overtook the country. Those times have long gone. And it's not the time when they fought the war with Argentina. Those times are long gone as well. Times have changed. Allegiances have changed. People have changed. Countries have developed. Now we are seeing many powerful nations emerging in the East, and one of which, by the way, is no other but Iran. Powerful nation. And I can tell you this much, that Iran will be for the true Israelites. Iran will stand for the true Israelites one day, and you will see that in the near future. Iran will not stand for fake Jews, fake Israel. Iran will not stand for that, and Iran knows very well who they are. So those of you who are true to the land of Abraham, who are true to the Torah, who are true to uphold the values of the Torah, the commandments and the statutes and the judgments in the Torah, those of you will be blessed tremendously in your near future and in your vast future. Your children, your children's children will be blessed because of this. This is how much the blessing will be of the Torah, and this is why King David sings about it in Psalm 119. So I wanted to make sure you understand that not all the countries are our enemies. Of course, Israel has enemies. Israel meaning the house of Israel, the true Israel, has enemies, but not all are enemies. We have friends as well. Baruch Hashem. So that's the news part. Now, I wanted to bring you to the Torah portions, and I wanted to bring you to, let me see, Psalm 8. Psalm 8 kind of something came into my view. Psalm 8 says this: You made him to have dominion over the work of your hands, or the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, yes, and the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passes through the paths of the sea. What is he talking about? He's talking about man. The psalmist is saying that this is a psalm of King David, and King David is saying that you have put man as in charge of everything that God created. Here in the US and maybe some other countries, there are what I can only describe as ignorant and erroneous people who like to believe that we are ruled by aliens or some lizards, and that they created us and not God, and they like to believe that we are under them. Me personally, I laugh at their intelligence, of how foolish such people are, because God has put everything under us. We are the masters of the earth, the human beings. God has put us as a master. Why would I give credibility to aliens? And if the aliens were so powerful, why are they hiding from us all these years? If they're so powerful, why haven't they shown up? And why haven't they come out? Because they're so powerful, mighty, more powerful than God. Why haven't they shown up? So, some people might say, oh, they're secretive. No, they're not secretive. They just don't have the stamina, and they know that we can destroy them. That's why. So they will never come out in force, and they will remain the creatures that they are, because God has put all dominion under our hands. We are the ones that God created as the masters of the earth, and we shall always be the masters of the earth. So that's kind of important, because I will only give credibility, and I will only give credit where credit is due, and the credit goes to God and no one else. So I want you to understand that we only give credit to God where it belongs. And going back to the time of Abraham, let me see if I can roll back time of Abraham. And this is when Abraham was told by God, where it says, Genesis chapter 12, now Yod-Heh-Wah said to Abraham, get out of your country, from your native country, and from your Abba's Beit, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a strong and mighty nation, and I will make you a benefit to others, and make your name great, and you shall be an increase to all who embrace you. By the way, I'm reading from the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls. And I will bless those who come to bless you, and I will curse him who despises you and sees you as worthless. And in all the mishpachot, the families of the earth, shall be engrafted. So, all the families of the earth are to be engrafted in Abraham our father, Baruch Hashem. Wonderful, wonderful man. Wonderful prophecy. And parts of this prophecy are yet to be fulfilled, but they will be fulfilled. So, let's talk about, give me a second. So let's talk about going to the book of Deuteronomy, and not Deuteronomy. Let's go to chapter 28 first, in Genesis. And it says that, and then Yitzhak called Yaakov and spoke increases for him, and ordered him, and said to him, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the Beit of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there of the daughters of Lavan, your mother's brother. Anyway, so this is when Isaac and Isaac's wife Rivka said to them that you're not to take the locals, because of the false worship and the idol worship that was happening by the locals. They didn't want no part of it. They didn't want their son to have any part of it. But there's an interesting thing in verse 3 of Genesis 28. It says, May El Shaddai, in brackets, the mighty power, bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may be an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessings of Abraham to you and to your descendants with you, that you may inherit the land in which you are a stranger, which Elohim gave to Abraham. So this is a wonderful, wonderful prayer. Wonderful prayer. May El Shaddai bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may be an assembly of peoples. Okay? I want you to note this, and I want you to repeat this every day. Make a mark, note it in chapter 28. Put a little marker if you got your written Bibles. If you have the printed editions, if you don't have the printed one, if you only have the online, then maybe mark it. If you have the printed one, then mark it. Read this every day. This is a beautiful, beautiful prayer that you should be reading and remembering, because this will help you. So, moving on. Now, I was going to give you something that will help you, that I want you to do in a particular way that I'm going to tell you, and it relates to the Torah. What you're going to say exactly in Hebrew, and you're going to say it 33 times. When you wake up, 33 times. When you go to sleep, 33 times. You can count on your fingers, okay? You got 15, count of 15 on one hand, and twice 15 is 30, then 3, 33. 33 times. You're going to say the words Ha-mitzvah, Ha-chuchim. Let me repeat it. Ha-mitzvah, Ha-chuchim. 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 Okay? Let me say it again. Ha-mitzvah, Ha-chuchim. When you say these two words 33 times, and you believe it with all your heart, don't worry about the pronunciation so much as you don't worry about exactly getting it right. As long as you get it reasonably correct, and as long as you do it 33 times, then you come before God. Okay? If you're in America, face the east, come before God and ask what you want, and God will grant it to you. But you must do it every day. Okay? And I will even suggest you do it as you're walking, as you're coming, as you're going. Ha-mitzvah, ha-chuchim. Ha-mitzvah, ha-chuchim. Ha-mitzvah, ha-chuchim. As you're coming and as you're going. Not just morning and evening, but if you're a busy man, busy woman, busy in your things, then of course you can do it in the evening and the morning. Okay? When you go to bed, when you wake up. But if you have time, you can do it during the day. Wonderful, wonderful way to acknowledge God's holy Torah. Okay? Wonderful way to know, and He will empower you if you do this. Now, what kind of benefit can you arrive from this, or derive from this? You can derive the benefit of you're struggling for a job. You can ask God for a job, He'll give it to you. You're struggling for finances, He'll give you finances. You're struggling for a great relationship, He'll give you a great relationship. You're struggling for health, healing, He'll give you healing. Ask, and it shall be given you. Ask, it shall be given you. Okay? I want you to remember this. Also, I will also ask you to continue to do the other exercises I gave you, like, the imagination of you having $6 million and you spending it, and, you investing some money and doing some personal shopping. I want you to continue with that exercise. Don't give up on that. Another secret I want to give you. This, by the way, is a secret. This will help you. A lot of you speak English, but English is not your native language. English is not my native language either. English is my third language. For a lot of you who come from other countries, maybe to America, maybe to Europe, English is not your native language. So when you do your robotic affirming, like I told you to write, I have everything on my list. Make a little list write everything that you desire. Not everything, maybe write 4, 5, 6 items on it that you desire, and then you're going to say, I have everything on my list. But what I want you to do, I want you to say it in your language. Listen, if your language is Hindi, I want you to say it in Hindi. If it is English, English. If it's Spanish, Spanish. If it's French, French. Whatever language you were born with. Now, why do I say that? I say that because there is good scientific research and other research, other results, that people that do their affirmations in the language that they were born in, their brains respond to that faster. If you're still struggling to make your manifestation, it's probably because you're trying to do it in the English language, and English is not your first language. Okay? So, if your first language is another language, then I highly, highly, highly encourage you to say your affirmations in your native mother tongue. Okay? Native mother tongue. So, please remember that, do that, and then, give me the results when the time comes. And those of you in America who always lived here and don't have a second language, like you always just had English, sure, fine, say it in English. But if those of you come into America who immigrated or emigrated to Europe, I want you to pay attention, pay heed to what I said. Use your mother tongue. Okay? Wonderful. So, moving on. I can. What I'm going to do is every week in the lecture, I'm going to give you a secret from the Torah. So I gave you one secret. In fact, this week I gave you 2 secrets. Next week we will look for another secret and something that you can use that will benefit you. So I'm going to cut the lecture here. I'm not going to go on and on and on. There's a lot of things that are happening. They're in development mode, and I'm not in privy to speak about all of them at this point. However, like I said, to you, my students, I will make known those things to you in due course that will benefit you greatly, and will benefit you to plan, benefit you where to live, will benefit you how to, what to do. And even right now, I'm telling you how to pray. So when you, get up in the morning, you have been shown the tools, given the tools of how to pray. I want you to utilize those tools, and I want you to start getting the power back, the power through Torah that will help you and develop you and make you a great person, man or woman, sons of Abraham and daughters of Abraham. So have a wonderful, wonderful Sabbath, wonderful next week. Until next time, I say Shabbat Shalom.